just might go back to Oklahoma and talk about the stars.
All right, there we go. Everybody hear me? Yeah, all right, good. Good morning. My name's Frank Windsor. I'm the president of Rinnai America Corporation, and today is a great day for Rinnai and our team members. I would like to welcome all of our local community and state leaders and all of the Rinnai team members here gathered to welcome our Energy Secretary Wright. Welcome, Mr. Secretary. Today we have the honor of hearing from three distinguished gentlemen that had a direct impact on saving our factory and getting the Congressional Review Act passed. First, I'd like to recognize Marty Harbin, our state senator from Georgia. Senator Harbin has been fighting for the Rinnai Corporation. When we thought about building the factory, he walked side by side to help us get the land, to work on the permitting. And then when he heard about the DOE ruling, he called us and went to war for us at the state capitol, gaining the support of our governors and our state legislation to help fight for Rinnai. So thank you, Senator. I also want to acknowledge Congressman Jack. He tirelessly worked on behalf of our company to overturn this DOE rule and played an important role in getting the CRA passed. Without his help, it never would have happened. He got it over the finish line, and we thank you, Congressman. To our two U.S. Senators, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, your yes vote on the CRA made it bipartisan, and that made it much more meaningful. Thank you to the senators. Secretary Wright, your support with backing of President Trump gave Congress the confidence to pass the CRA, knowing that it would be signed in law. And we hope that that happens soon, and we hope that we can be there. Looking forward to it. You know, many of you might not know, this factory was built in response to President Trump's first-term call for foreign manufacturers to come to the U.S. and build U.S. manufacturing. I distinctly remember making the case in Rinnai, Japan with our senior leadership and using President Trump's words to help point out the opportunity of building this factory right here in Griffin, Georgia. We are the only major tankless manufacturer in the United States, and today we employ over 200 team members that live and raise their families in this community, and they come to work every day helping us delight our customers. We could not be prouder of each one of our Rinnai America team members that are all part of the One Rinnai team. Mr. Secretary, we also appreciate your dedication to affordability and efficiency. In this building, we make some of the most efficient, highest quality water heaters in the world. These water heaters are made here by our team and are 25% more efficient than the traditional gas tank water heater. We tell people all the time, yank your tank. We look forward to partnering with the DOE to help fulfill our company's brand promise of creating a healthier way of living. Everyone, please help me in welcoming our U.S. Secretary of Energy, Mr. Chris Wright. Now I would like to hand it over to our Senator Harbin for a few words and some of his thoughts today. Thank you, Senator.
Isn't it great to be in hot water? All right. Here's what I'm going to tell you I see. Kudzu is a vine that we have, and government regulation is kudzu that we have to deal with today, and there's only two ways to deal with it. You got to kill it or cut it back, one of the two. And I want to thank Jack for taking an axe to the kudzu that we've had to deal with. So thank you. Who could imagine that in Griffin, Georgia, we have a factory that builds a quality product that changes the lives of people? We have innovation in Griffin, Georgia. We have hard workers that have great jobs, and this is the cleanest place. I'm glad my staff doesn't come here. They would say, you need to clean up the office better than that. But what a great place to work. What I find is this: we're standing together, federal, state, business innovators, dedicated workers, showing that it's possible that we work together as a people and that we can build quality products in the USA and in Georgia. I believe that President Trump brings a spirit that we can do this, that we can release and make America great again, because we have been hampered, and it's time to set America free to be the power that it was intended to be to start with. Thank you. Thank you for the ability to represent you. I want to tell you that it's been fantastic to work with Congressman Jack. What a breath of fresh air of what's going on. Chris Wright, I want to say this. In our conversation, you've run a business, you know what it is to make a profit, and you know what it is to make America great. And I want to thank you for your service and for helping us get this through. Let's do this. Let's get back to what we do best: building, innovating, working together to make America strong, secure, and great once again. And I ask that God would bless America as never before as we seek Him and we seek to release the power of the American people. Thank you very much.
Well, I'll start off by adjusting the microphone, but first and foremost, I want to thank you, Frank, for not just the welcome that you provided us, but I want to thank the entire Rinnai America Corporation for your substantial investment in our community. Of course, here in Spalding County and my home county of Fayette County, your impact in our community is well felt. We are honored to be joined today by the United States Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright. And for those of you that remember from our government classes in high school, the Secretary of Energy is 15th in line of presidential succession. So I think, Mr. Secretary, that makes you the 15th most powerful person in the world. Thank you for being here. Secretary Wright is a member of President Trump's cabinet, and I spoke earlier this week to a very good friend of mine, the Griffin Mayor, Doug Holberg, and correct me if wrong, but we believe this may be the first official visit by a cabinet member to Spalding County in its 174-year history. So I'm happy to make history today, and we thank you, Mr. Secretary, for visiting us. We are here today to celebrate the passage and enactment of legislation that repeals a regulation that endangered this plant's prosperity and survival. The story of how it all came to be is a fantastic example of the blueprint of how state and federal partnership should work. During my campaign for Congress, I spoke at length about my promise to eliminate government overreach and to finally achieve the deregulation that all of us know was needed for our businesses. And last August, I received a phone call right after I had been elected the Republican nominee for our district, but I received a phone call from State Senator Marty Harbin. State Senator Harbin, along with your great county commissioners, Clay Davis and James Dutton, along with state representatives Beth Camp and Karen Mathiak, had been hearing from Rinnai directly, hearing from the people who represent you here in this factory, that there's a real problem. They were concerned that a job-killing regulation in the Department of Energy, and Joe Biden's Department of Energy, was about to come down on this facility. And though I wasn't yet your congressman, Senator Harbin wanted me to be aware of the issue. So last August, we met up in Tyrone at his office, and we drove over and toured this facility, met with the folks in the conference room upstairs, and learned a little bit more about the problem that was coming. We met with a few of your colleagues, including, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge your fantastic General Counsel, Perry McGuire, who's worked overtime to help solve this issue. But your leadership explained that Joe Biden's Department of Energy was expected to impose a new regulation that would increase energy standards to a rate that non-condensing tankless water heaters could never achieve. Simply stated, this regulation would have put this plant out of business. And on December 26, 2024, the day after Christmas, the Joe Biden Department of Energy had our fears come true by imposing this job-killing regulation. So this was December, though, and President Trump had just been elected, and I had just been elected as your congressman. So Rinnai came to me and asked what we could do. First, I connected your colleagues here at Rinnai with Secretary Wright's transition team. One of my good friends, Joe Udo, got in touch with Perry and tried to work things through. And thanks to Secretary Wright's team and everyone that works for him, the great staff at Department of Energy, they started a process by which they could roll back this regulation. But we also wanted to pursue a permanent legislative solution. That's the one nice thing about Congress. You get something passed, it's in canon until something changes. So we decided that we needed to pursue legislative relief. And thankfully, from my first term serving in President Trump's White House, I was there from the first to last day of his first term, I was familiar with a rarely used legislative tool called the Congressional Review Act. And just to brief y'all, the Congressional Review Act allows Congress to repeal any regulation as long as it falls within a 60 legislative day window. So given that this Biden regulation came out in late December, early January, myself and my colleagues introduced a bill to finally repeal this regulation. I led the debate for it on the floor. I managed its flow through the committee process, and I served as its chief whip on the floor. And I got to tell you, some of your competitors, I'm not going to mention them by name, but they were coming after me as hard as you could because they knew we were going to be successful finally repealing this. And in February, just 1 month after we introduced this legislation, and y'all remember, I mean, thousands of bills get introduced in Congress in the course of a few months, I was able to persuade House leadership to put it on the floor for a vote where it passed with a bipartisan majority. 210 Republicans and 11 Democrats crossed the aisle to pass this job-saving legislation. And earlier this month, Frank noted, we got this bill fast-tracked in the Senate, where it passed with yet another bipartisan majority, which means that this legislation that specifically saves jobs here in Spalding County, hundreds of jobs here, this specific legislation is one of the first 10 laws of President Trump's second term. This is a massive win for our community, and honestly, it's a really good example of what we can do when we work together. Don't care about who gets credit. We work together, and we find and solve solutions that impact your daily life. And I think this success story is one of the many, many accomplishments over President Trump's first 100 days. Secretary Wright has worked overtime to deliver win after win after win for the American people. And that is no surprise because Secretary Wright accomplished incredible things before he was nominated and confirmed to serve our country. He is a two-term graduate of MIT, so I think you're the smartest person in the room. And at the same time, he is from Colorado, where he founded Liberty Energy, one of America's leading energy companies. He was one of President Trump's strongest supporters during his campaign, and he is now one of his most trusted allies in his cabinet. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the 17th United States Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright.
What an honor to be here among all of you. And I have a message from my boss. My boss is President Trump. He wishes he could be here, but his message to everyone here is God bless what you do every day. You are changing the lives of millions of people, willingly, anxiously buy the products you make to make their lives better. That's why. Of course, I and the leaders behind me, and great leaders behind me, Frank, Brian, and great leaders behind me, Frank, Brian, and Marty, are the reason I'm here. Frank's led this business. Marty saw there was a problem. He called up Brian Jack, who knew in his job, said, I'm taking that on. That's nonsense. He not only led the legislative effort, he reached out to my department, the Department of Energy. Before I was the Energy Secretary, he was in front of that game saying, this doesn't make any sense. We dove in and looked at it, and of course it doesn't make any sense. How would you like it if they passed a law and said, you can't buy that Ford pickup truck? No, that's illegal now. You can buy a BMW if you want that, but you can't buy the Ford. You can't play basketball with your kids. Only soccer is allowed. We wouldn't tolerate that for a minute. That's un-American. We're all different. We all care about different things. We're united by love and respect for our family, for our country, for our Creator. But we're not all the same. We celebrate that. That's what's awesome about America and about our country. And the thought that some bureaucrats, who none of us have ever met, would slide a regulation in the day after Christmas to end your job and this factory. That is just beyond crazy. It is beyond crazy and frankly un-American. Beyond crazy. It is beyond crazy and frankly un-American. And that's why President Trump was elected. He was elected because people were tired of being told what to do, what they could do, what they couldn't do, what was virtuous and what was evil or across some line. We don't get that guidance. We don't get those decisions from politicians in Washington. Those come from our hearts and our souls and our families. President Trump got elected to bring back common sense, to empower Americans to make their own choices, to pursue their own dreams, and to get all the barriers out of the way that make it increasingly hard for us to pursue our dreams. I was in Washington, D.C. about a year ago, and in fact, it's from there that I got an invite to dinner at Mar-a-Lago that led to my new job. But when I was in D.C., the message I brought, so I went to college in the 1980s, and there was a fear then that the world was ending. The world was ending because we were running out of energy. Industrial civilization was going to collapse. Mass starvation was going to spread around the planet. We all had to change our behavior to save the planet from destruction. But then it was that there weren't enough hydrocarbons. There wasn't enough oil and gas and coal to power the world. It's the reason a Colorado kid who loves the outdoors and the mountains went to college back in Boston, Massachusetts. I didn't want to go to Boston, Massachusetts. I only went back there because I thought I could work on the future of energy, because I knew energy was the thing that changed our world. 200 years ago, life expectancy at birth was 30 years. 30 years. I look at this crowd, I look at myself, I'm glad we're not in those times anymore. But what changed was two things. Human freedom. We had top-down oppressive societies. Only a small number of people were really empowered. Slavery was across all major societies. Women were property of their husbands or their fathers. That was normal a few generations ago. We've grown human freedom and a new energy source, first from coal, then from oil, then from natural gas, and then other energy, wind and solar and nuclear. We only can build those because we have coal, oil, and gas. Our world was changed by human freedom and by energy. I was in DC a year ago because I thought both of these concepts, human freedom and energy, were under attack. These are what made our great lives, and they were under attack in Washington, D.C. And I went there to protest a law. I won't go into it, but it's another law like the one that was going to put you guys out of business. It was aimed at the oil and gas industry. But the message I brought was, you're not hurting the oil and gas industry. If you make it harder to produce oil and gas in the United States, as they tried for 4 years to do, You don't change the demand for oil and gas. You just make it harder for us to produce it. Therefore, the price is going to be higher. You're making my business the most profitable it's ever been. You're helping 1% of Americans that produce oil and gas, and you're hurting the other 99%, because all of us consume oil and gas, but only 1% of us profit from selling it. You're hurting everyone. And you know what they thought when I told them that? They didn't care. They didn't care. They really believed that there should be decisions of a small number of people about what's okay for you to do and what's okay for you to do. They lost sight of the American dream, of the American way, of what motivates all of us, our kids, our families, our jobs, our careers. We all have different dreams and we're all in pursuit of them. President Trump got elected really to bring back common sense, and the most important reason we need common sense is without it, the American dream becomes harder and harder. This plan, thank you. What you make every day, it's part of the American dream for you and your families and your community, but it's broader than that. It's part of the American dream for all Americans, all Americans. It was not long ago, before this rise of human freedom, before this rise in new energy sources, that a hot shower was a very, very rare thing. Only a few people got it, because a bunch of other people had to boil wood and gather water and give them that rare sort of aristocratic luxury of a hot shower. We still have billions of people on Earth that don't get hot showers. I've traveled to 55 countries. My passion is I was just born lucky. I was born in America in the second half of the 20th century. Crazy lucky life. Not everyone's born lucky. Not everyone's born lucky. But what you're doing is allowing so many other people to have that incredible luxury of a hot shower at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. Maybe right now they get a 2-minute shower. That's all they can afford. And again, billions of people have no access to hot water and hot showers. But what you're doing with innovation and hard work is you're making it easier and easier and easier for ultimately everyone to get a hot shower, start their day clean and feeling good, end a rugged day with an uplifting cleansing and warming of our souls. And I can't overstate how important what you're doing is. Thank you for standing strong in the risk of your jobs going away and your factory being closed. None of you left. None of you threw in the towel. There's 3 gentlemen behind me dove into that fight. You dove into that fight. And we won this battle. We will have more battles, but together, let's stand together for our dreams, for the American dream. God bless you all, and a big thanks from the President. He loves what you do.
To the Rinnai team members, let's crank this up and show them what we do best. Let's get this thing humming, all right? Thank you.